Hello, hello. The Insights Pod team are here again to deliver an insightful and informative session on today's podcast series, which is our second podcast series. The Insights Pod are a team of 4 master's students studying artificial intelligence and data science here in Keele University. As promised from our last episode, we'll be giving you the nitty-gritty of being in the AI and data science field on today's episode. That's to our viewers and our listeners out there. And today's topic is titled The Pros and Cons of AI and Data Science, Opportunities with Data Science. My name is Sally Ann, and with me are my team members.
Falashayo.
Jessica.
Aisha.
Nice. Our guest speaker for today is Tolulope Babatunde. So we want to thank you for accepting to be here on our podcast series event. So who is Tolulope?
Tolulope Babatunde obtained his BSc Honors degree in computer science from Bowen University, Iwo, Nigeria, in 2011. Thereafter, pursuing a career in information technology industry in Nigeria. During this time, he honed his skills in process automation, cloud computing, systems administration, application support, product management, business intelligence, and analytics. In 2020, he earned his MSc in data science and computational intelligence from Coventry University, UK. Throughout his MSc studies, Tolulope's enthusiasm for research was ignited, particularly in the areas of computational mathematics, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Consequently, he embarked on a PhD program with the Research Center for Computational Science and Mathematical Modeling at Coventry University, UK, where he is presently focused on his doctoral research. Wow, thank you so much, Tolulope, for coming. Yeah, it is.
Nerdish
background. For
background.
coming to our podcast. We really appreciate
Thank
the
you.
time. Thank you.
Thank you, Tolulope.
Tolulope, can you tell us a bit about your background? I know we've read your bio, but I'm sure our listeners would like to hear a thing or two. If you share with us.
My background is not such that I deviated from one place and then fell into tech. I've always been that type of person who always wanted to do tech from way back, like from when I was small. I had, how do I put it? I had people in front of me who had done some things in tech, and I really looked forward to them, and I aspired to be like them because it was fascinating to me, having to look at the kind of things they did and how they did it. I was very curious about it, so I'd kind of determined very early that I was going to do something in maybe computer science, computer engineering, and all. And then when I was done with secondary school, I went further to do computer science. And after that, I found myself being some kind of Renaissance man. I don't know if you understand what I mean. I kind of had my hand in everything. I was doing deployment of security solutions. I was doing consulting. I was doing whatever you can think about.
That's very impressive.
It wasn't by my doing. It wasn't like I chose to be all over the place, but I was just in situations where I had to learn something new. I had to do something new. But one thing that gave me was the ability to learn on my feet really quickly, because there was always one new solution. There was always one new technology to learn.
Wow.
And pivot quickly.
Yeah. So when it got to as the progression went on, when it got to the point where I started doing a little bit of business analytics and automation and a little bit of visualization and all that, I thought there should be more to this than just showing people data and how. And then that was when I started researching further into data science, and eventually decided I was going to do a data science master's. And then here I am.
Yeah, that's very
I was going
impressive.
to say why data science and AI, but at least you've clarified it for us a bit.
So would you see data science as that field compared to all that you've lined up across, the software engineering, all the development? We see data science as that thing that excels beyond every other.
So the thing is, again, I can't say data science is maybe the pinnacle of computing or pinnacle of computer science or anything like that, because there are a lot of other things that people are doing that are very, very important and are
Lucrative,
also
yeah.
very good as well. But the thing with data science and artificial intelligence at the moment is it is driving the future of technology.
Yes.
So, some way, somehow, everyone has to listen to it, regardless of wherever you find yourself in the tech field. You have to have some form of interaction with data science and AI at some point. So it's not something you can run away from. However, it might not be the core of your work, but at some point you would definitely have to interact with data in some way. And the earlier you understand how it works, the
better for you.
Basically, because where the world is going right now, you would not be able to escape it. There's no way. You have to do something with it. So.
That's great. So in line with your submission, so what do you see as the biggest opportunities that data science and AI offer business today?
I would want to look at those opportunities in terms of one, automation, data science, and using data to in business allows you to build systems around those data and then automate them in such a way that it reduces human interaction with them, and then you can get
such a song
taking jobs.
Exactly, I wanted to say that.
I will get there.
Yeah,
because taking away jobs is not the whole of the story, but I will get there. The other part is it allows you to understand what has gone on with your business and your organization for a little while, to understand where you are at the present, and then to be able to forecast what can come next. You can forecast, and then you can simulate what kind of changes you can make to your business to make it maybe more profitable, maybe to play in a new field and all that, So it provides opportunity for the present, and it provides opportunity for the future as well. So it's something worth looking at for every organization who is seriously looking about securing a future in our present age.
That's a definite pro or advantage.
Yeah. So those are basically, I see it in those two folds. The opportunities are for automation to take out a lot of manual processes, and for forecasting, to understand your future, to know what you need to do, what you need to add to it, what you need to subtract from your business to make it profitable. That's why everyone is in business,
Awesome.
So I think you already answered the next question I wanted to ask you, which was how data science and AI can help organizations make more informed decisions.
Yeah, when you understand where you are at the present, it's easy for you to say, okay, if we extend this by a factor of time, maybe months or years, we can see that we might be able to be here. And then if we add maybe a couple of things to this, we can say, So, yeah, it provides that.
Basically.
Yeah, so in your opinion, what ethical considerations should be taken into account when using data science and AI? The ethics and
bias and
this is
very.
It has to be an ongoing conversation, because there's a lot about, these are the responsible uses of data science, these are the responsible uses of artificial intelligence, and this is how people should do it. But at the moment, there are no blanket policies or laws that governs the use of AI and data science. So the interpretation of ethics in data science and AI is based on whoever is building the system. Whoever is building the system, which is skewed, because my sense of morals might be totally different from yours.
Yes.
And then if I build my sense of moral into a system, it definitely would be biased over to some other people. So
Exactly.
Your data is as good as the correctness of the data, the accuracy of the data, and the interpretation of it. If you've gotten some data, they say numbers don't lie, right? Let's say you have a lot of numbers, you've gotten numbers. But because you feel like you need to favor some certain distance, you manipulate those numbers to fit a certain structure, it becomes biased. It's not totally accurate anymore. and then whatever conclusions you draw from that data you cannot in good conscience say that's the proper thing, that's the good thing to put out there. So it has to be an ongoing conversation where you keep talking about the most responsible ways to use data, the most responsible ways to use artificial intelligence. I mean, we've all seen ChatGPT now.
Yeah.
A whole lot of things that are going on with that. And then there are a lot of other ones coming along. And then, you know, interestingly, because I'm in research, I try to break a few things every once in a while. And I had asked ChatGPT some questions. And the responses I got, on the surface of it, looks really good. And then I asked ChatGPT to provide academic references to support those claims, right?
Yeah.
And it did provide academic references. However, they do not exist.
They don't. Wow. Yeah. Someone was going to.
Someone was like, do not rely 100%.
They were totally made up.
On yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do not.
Well, I think
You will go through all of the academic libraries you can find. You will not find those references.
Really?
Yes.
Because I heard someone say that, do not rely on ChatGPT
ChatGPT
100% because some details can be accurate.
It's you might ask maybe certain specific questions that relate to something and you get an answer, but you would need to verify. You would need to go further and see are these responses backed up by some facts somewhere, by some study. Okay. But as it is right now, someone who doesn't know that would
just use the reference, go
ahead and then that can lead you into a lot of problems.
Trouble,
So, I was going to make submissions to what you just said about the responses provided by ChatGPT.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I feel that responses from ChatGPT are actually correct. But the references is what is wrong. A lot of times you see sense in submission, except for the fact that you may not be able to, like you said, let me say it's not good for academic writing.
Well, when you think about it in terms of common sense, yes.
Yeah, common
those
sense.
Those responses do make some common sense. However, you cannot rely on common sense when you're doing research. There has to be some way to back up your submissions with facts, with studies that have been done. And if your study is novel, you have to then be able to say, okay, this is new and no one has done it before, therefore I would claim ownership of this. But I mean, before you can claim ownership of a new study, you must have done a very extensive search to be sure that there wasn't anything like that before, you know. So while yes, on the surface of it you can have questions answered with AI. I mean, it's probably not only ChatGPT. I mean,
exactly.
Google's got their bad, and a lot of others are trying to come up. You can use them for different other things. Maybe some copywriting in some storytelling, a lot of other things. It doesn't necessarily have to be just research. I'm just giving an instance of my experience, right?
Okay.
So it's not all bad. However, caution needs to be applied when you use such systems to be sure that, especially when you're going to transmit those responses to other people, to be sure that you're putting out correct information.
Okay, sorry to take you back a bit. Concerning the ethical considerations, you said there needs to be ongoing conversations.
Yeah.
Is this within developers or maybe their bosses?
I feel like the conversations should lead to policies that would then guide the responsible use of data science, data and AI.
Okay, because there's somewhere where, not somewhere, like an app that was developed to scan through, almost like ATS, to scan through CVs. But it will just scan through CVs and not pick female. Like, bias.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
But no one knew about it until...
Someone has built in some bias into the system, and it's affecting the real world.
Yes, exactly.
So those kind of things need to be continually checked. At the moment, I do not think there's a blanket organization or even government organization that is making laws, actively making laws that govern the responsible use of AI and data. We always have one of these. Oh, so at what point does the system
Exactly.
become a monster? Who checks the system?
Exactly.
And who is responsible for putting all of those in place? Those have to be ongoing conversations that need to be done. That then need to lead to proper policies set up, such that you know that when you embark on such a project, there are certain guidelines and rules
you have
that you
to
must
follow.
follow
Yes.
to make sure that, first of all, privacy concerns are
Exactly.
addressed, and then there's the confirmation that you are using data
accurate
and
data.
artificial intelligence for responsibly, basically.
Not abusing it, basically. Okay.
Thank you.
As someone with expertise in AI and data science, what are the common misconceptions? Because, I mean, people, we would like you to clear that up because, like we just mentioned earlier, where they say AI are taking jobs or that they are they're building monsters. And then, you know, because of the recent layoffs as well, there's this, you think, okay, AI or tech is the way to go because there's job security, but then you now have these issues and then you're wondering, so how can you clear that up for us?
Okay, so in terms of misconceptions, I'll first of all go the route of AI is taking jobs. I would try to take us back a little bit in our process of development as humans, right? We always come into a phase where something comes, and by default we are resistant to change, right?
Exactly.
But with those changes come opportunities as well. Say, for instance, before someone invented four-wheel cars and all that, they were probably using horses and chariots, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Who was going to think that cars will take over the entire
Yeah,
world at the time?
exactly.
If you were a horse merchant at the time, you would kick against that kind of technology,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? But yes, horse merchants, we had to go at some point. But when cars became a thing, it gave rise to a lot of new jobs, right?
Yes.
Some people had to learn to be mechanics. Some people had to learn to manufacture and
Parts and all.
Exactly, yeah.
some other parts for the car and all that. It's the same way with what we're seeing right now. I would only say the difference is the fact that the progression is a lot faster than we've ever seen before. So if you're going to keep up, you're going to have to learn fast.
On your feet.
Word.
Do not learn fast, then
You'll be left behind.
you'll
Be
probably
obsolete.
left behind.
Yeah.
So yes, there would be some jobs
Kickbacks.
that would be taken out,
Yes.
but it will provide opportunity for some other types of jobs that might even be a lot more than those jobs that are taken out.
Yeah.
But will you be willing and ready to take those
To
opportunities?
Take those
Upskill,
jobs.
yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, you have to upskill. You have to learn things. I've learned in my few years of research now that you have to constantly learn. What you knew yesterday might not be very okay for today.
Irrelevant.
And if it's not very okay
Yeah,
for
and
today,
it can be
Very
because
scary.
yeah.
if it's not very okay for today, then it's definitely obsolete tomorrow.
So that means
So-
you have to join communities where you know, okay, what's the next?
You have
What's
to
the
keep
next
abreast
thing?
of
Yeah,
what's going on,
on.
learn new things, understand the system, understand the direction of the system, and the direction the world is going, and then be able to plug yourself into the opportunities that are
Yeah.
available.
Is it right to say that AI is creating a whole lot more highly skilled jobs?
Well, yeah, for you to be in the AI space, you have to learn. You have to be skilled. You can't. They're not jobs that you just wake up one
I
morning
just
and
the
say you want to do.
Yeah.
There will be some learning for you.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it would be if you had some prerequisite knowledge, maybe like some programming skills or some form of data analytics skills with some software like SPSS or Excel. You can say, okay, yes, the transition might be easier because you had some
Prior
so if you have
knowledge.
prior knowledge of
Yeah.
some parts of it. But however, regardless of whatever it is, you have to learn. I'll give an example. You're a programmer, right? You're very good at programming, and then you have been charged to build a system that an AI system for a specific domain, say medicine. You're not a doctor.
Yes.
But you're a programmer, right?
Yes.
You understand the logic of programming, mathematics of it, possibly mathematics of it, because not all programmers understand mathematics like that. But then you have to go and learn the domain that you're trying to build something in.
Yeah.
It will require you to know a little bit of a lot of things
Yes.
to incorporate into what you're doing. And that would mean that, yes, while you're not a professional medical personnel, maybe with respect to your interaction with people
The
in
medical
medicine
field,
and
yeah.
biosciences and all of that, you get some knowledge, you get some
Useful things.
Yeah.
some-
Because I was going to say, do you have to
some-
learn it?
You actually
have to
kind of have to learn it.
Interact
Yes.
with them.
You kind of
Yes.
have to learn it, but you don't necessarily have to learn to be an expert in this field.
Yeah.
Because the other opportunity that AI presents is collaboration across domains.
Yeah.
So you find yourself working with someone in some totally different domain,
Domain
and trying
as
to
yours.
understand what they do to be able
Yeah.
to code it into a system.
Oh, yeah.
But for you to be able to code it into a system, you have to
have
at
to
least understand what they
it.
do.
That's true.
So it breeds some level of collaboration. It bridges a lot of gaps as well. So
Yeah.
that's definitely how it is
DevOps.
right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I've seen job posts that shows like healthcare data scientists, finance data scientists.
Scientists.
I think it's because you need to do a whole
Even
lot of things
agri-tech
in
or
that
something
domain,
like
and
that.
they want to
Yes.
be sure
Yes.
you know what you're
You know what you're
So
doing.
if you're applying for a finance data scientist, for instance, you have to have at least at the minimum level, the
Base
base knowledge
level.
of
Finance, yeah,
financial
exactly, like
systems
stock and
how,
stuff,
you
yeah.
know. Yeah, so before you can then say, okay, I can merge these two together, and then I'll be able to produce good work for you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tolulope. You're doing a good job.
Breaking it down. That's
so
good.
much.
Okay.
So going forward, we're looking at the possibilities of job role change. We're talking about automation, like you earlier stated, acquiring of diverse skills, digital skills that would, make someone relevant in the field. So my question is that how do you see data science and AI changing the job market in the next couple of years to come?
First off, I think we're still in the very early stages of data science and AI. And there is so much that's going to happen in a few years. So much. So
Let's say that we are the pioneers, right?
yeah, if you learn enough right now,
Front
you put
runner.
yourself in a very good position for things that are coming, right? And you see a lot of different aspects of AI coming up, like there might be more specific things, like some parts of AI would then become we're only analyzing results that AI systems bring forth. Like for instance, given the arts industry, for instance, there's an AI system that can spew out artworks, right? It might be some person's job later in the future to analyze those artworks and understand based on some certain criteria that has been set that this thing must meet. That's kind of like an opportunity for someone.
Yeah.
Yes.
It might be in some other case where there's a result that has to be some interpreted in some way, and then there will definitely always be the human side of it.
Exactly.
So that would always produce opportunities for people. So we can always be on the lookout for what's the next, how can we plug into these kind of spaces, and then one other thing I really see coming up very, very soon, and I talked about ethics and governance last time. There will be a need for a lot of governance, and then if you have all of those skills to do IT governance in that specific area, you might be very, very sought after at some point, because as the policies go up, as the policies are produced, companies and businesses will be mandated to be compliant with those policies. Therefore, they will need people who can understand the policies and interpret them into the business, which is a very good opportunity for work for some people as well. So there are like different opportunities that can come out from the use of data science and AI within the field.
There's something I was going to ask. when you were explaining how much of transformation that happened over time, back in the days, you see people, putting a whole lot of exercise into making clothes, and there comes a time that you just have to do all the peddling to sew clothes, and now you see some machineries that will just have to drop your fabrics,
Just
and there
do
comes
a
the
3D
clothes.
model of the cloth and then
Yeah.
put it in.
So
and
coming to tech, you see a whole lot of things that were done manually. Now we're talking about coding.
Yeah.
So I came across something recently where they talked about codeless programming. So how do you relate that to?
There will definitely be systems that would allow people who don't have the integral knowledge of coding to still be able to use some of this technology that we talk about. There's a lot of work going on with I think like you said, codeless softwares that would just be like a GUI based software that you can drag and drop and all that. Yes, there will be those, and then you would also need to learn some new technology to be able to use that, right?
Exactly.
And that makes sense too, right?
Okay.
But you would be at an advantage if you know how to code. I'll give
Okay.
a very specific instance of
This coding is unavoidable for some of us.
I'll give you a very specific instance of my experience when I started doing some automation.
All right.
Now, the company I worked for at the time, they bought an out-of-the-box software that allowed you to do workflows and basically develop forms and connect them together and do the old workflows and allow someone to be able to approve something and all that. But then, while designing some of those things, I realized there were certain functionalities that were missing.
Okay.
And the only way for me to be able to include those functionalities was to be able to go back into the back end of that system and customize it. And for me to customize it, I needed to know how to code. Of course, I had some level of programming skill at the time that allowed me to be able to do what I needed to do. So if imagine someone who didn't have that, they'll be stuck with, just out of the box solution, no customization, there's nothing about that. And that might not necessarily mean the business at that time. Because they're probably looking for maybe some tailor-made solution for themselves, and then they've spent all of this money and they expect
That's
they
a way to
expect,
shine, actually, when you do
Exactly.
that. It just makes you put
they
you in the
expect
forefront.
a certain level of result, and this is what the system is, and
You can't deliver.
So in summary, we'll see let me say the 4 boxes that are actually very important to any data scientist, which are the mathematics,
you
the
can't
coding.
escape mathematics.
Oh, God.
typically in programming, you cannot escape
Escape
some level of mathematics.
Yeah, statistics as well.
And
At the
finally,
base level of it, you must understand logic.
Logic.
Yeah.
At the base level of
So
it, you must
much.
understand logic. And if you are going to be a data scientist, you must understand statistics very well.
God.
and the 4th one is the domain.
Yeah,
Shall we
domain
say?
knowledge
Okay,
is
domain.
also very important. So if you're applying to, say, for instance, the NHS as a data scientist, you have to understand
Yes.
what the processes of the
Exactly.
NHS are and how to put that in a system that works properly. Yeah,
So I'm sorry to recap: statistics, maths,
Coding,
coding
domain,
and
domain.
Domain.
logic. Okay, that's 5.
Yeah, you get to put the mathematics and the logic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
mathematics,
you know,
logic,
statistics
yeah.
together
So
as well.
I hope our listeners out there are taking notes.
You're taking notes.
I'm actually taking notes. Like
It's a very rough
Okay.
journey.
Yeah.
but then you don't
So they need
have
to be
to. You
prepared.
don't have to put the pressure on yourself
Okay.
to learn everything at once.
Once.
Okay.
I think for me, the best way I've learned is to start the work and then acquire the knowledge
Knowledge
I
when
need to
needed.
do.
Oh.
I need to use to do the job. It doesn't mean that I don't have any quote unquote some knowledge of all the other things. Might not just be sufficient enough to maybe an expert level, for instance. I've never call myself a programmer, right?
Okay.
But if I had a job and then a part of it required me to program, I know what I need to do to get that done.
Yeah.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't apply for a full-time developer role or anything like that. But I would be able to do some of that to complete whatever work I need to do.
Yeah.
You know.
So you said start the work. That's if you are given the opportunity to
Well, you have to be convincing enough.
Yeah.
I do not think, one thing is, I do not think there are people who want 100% out of the box person.
Okay.
I think what they want is your knowledge and your ability to learn.
Okay.
Yes, you would prove that there are things that you can do for them.
You can bring to the table.
And then, because that's like, you don't expect them to say, okay, yeah, we're going to train you 100%. And then, but the little bit that is left that you don't know, it will be because of the things that you can do. Those can be, you can learn that on the job,
Okay.
They will probably be their own internal processes and a little bit of maybe just some parts of,
Yeah,
and then
Okay,
those you can
sometimes
add.
we actually see that where they will be like, okay, so we just need to have this. This other parts,
We'll
they'll
train
Yeah,
train
they
you
say
according
maybe
to
optional or
company.
not necessary.
Yeah,
You don't. If you have it, it's an added advantage.
Added,
But if
yes.
you don't have it, we can work with that. That kind of thing. But you have to be really convincing what you can do. Because at the end of the day, when you're applying for a job, you're trying to tell them, oh, I'm someone that
at
can bring
this.
value to you. So you have to be able to convince them of the value that you're bringing
Bring
to
it
them.
to the table. That makes sense.
All right. Thank you, Tolulope. So I've been thinking, and this question was actually triggered by something that happened recently, which is about privacy and security. So my question would be, with the increasing use of AI and data science, there is a growing concern about privacy and security.
Yeah.
And I would like to know your thoughts on this issue, or basically how organizations can balance the benefit of data science and AI with the need to protect individual privacy as well.
The issue of privacy has been going on for so long. I don't know if there's going to be any insight with that. Truth is, we all give out our data one way or another every day.
Exactly.
So you can't run away from someone or some entity having access to your data. Because whether we choose to admit it, there will be companies that have your data, and then there will be people that try to maybe maliciously get your data. There will be all of that. However, like I was mentioning with the ethical issues the other time, there has to be, at some point, coordinated efforts to make policies that would govern the responsible use of people's data. Like, okay, what can be used for? What can data be used for? What can they not be used for? How do we preserve it? How do we discard it, and those type of things? I mean, there are some policies right now, like for instance, the GDPR in Europe, which governs the basic use of data and how it's stored, how it's used, and all of that. But there has to be ongoing conversations about this and how it is implemented in future AI systems, because I mean, we're all giving our data.
Exactly, every single day.
We hardly read
all of
the
the lab
in
rats.
between
All
the
of us
lines.
are lab
Yeah.
rats. Basically.
Yeah.
Goodness, okay.
Yeah. So thank you for that. So we already mentioned that AI and data science is creating like loss in some jobs and creating a whole lot of new jobs in like other parts. So what do you think are the potential drawbacks of relying on data science and AI for decision making?
Like I said a few minutes ago, there would always be the human touch needed. You would design a model, right?
Yeah.
The model has to be verified, correct, and accurate, right? That probably will be someone's job.
Yeah.
The data I'm putting into the system, does it meet a certain standard that has been set by whoever?
Yeah.
Because you need to make sure that when your results are out, they have to be free of bias as possible, and they have to meet the requirements for which they were intended as much as possible as well. So there has to be that balance. Someone has to be able to check all that. I mean, you don't expect the machine to check itself. There would always be a check and balance somewhere. So there has to be some way to say, okay, yeah, this is what the system is for. But some way, somehow, we are checking against some parameters that we set, basically to ensure that what we're producing is good enough.
It's good enough. Okay. So that's like data quality and accuracy.
Yeah, there has to be some quality checks
account.
at some point. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you maintain the reliability of high quality data like in your workspace, for instance? How is that done?
I think it will be a conversation around what the business is,
Okay.
what they term high quality data,
Oh, right. So,
and they will definitely also be looking into the way they store things, the way they use their usage of data, and all of that. So
that's based on each business, obviously,
would
not a
definitely-
general.
I don't think there will be a
There will be a
general-
base.
There'll
obviously,
probably be
then by
this
company.
is by default,
By default,
like
yes.
for instance, if I think I don't quote me anywhere on this, but I think one of the bodies that govern the information technology standards, I think it has ISO 27001. I'm not quite sure about that, but within that framework there's the standardized life cycle of data. Like, this is where you gather the data. This is how long this data must be in active use. You have to be able to define how long the data must be in active use, and then at the end of the life cycle of that data, what do you do with it? Are you transferring it to someone else?
Okay.
Are you discarding? Are you disposing of the data? When you are disposing of the data, how do you go about it? What kind of methods do you use to discard your data? And
okay.
how do you ensure that data doesn't fall into the hands of those people that they shouldn't fall into?
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
Because I think we saw something like that on one of our courses where they were showing us how they get rid of data. I don't know if it was when they crushed it in their server room. Was that? I think it was one of our classes.
That's why
handling of data generally.
Things about digital shredding and things like that.
Things like that, okay.
So this is going to be on a lighter mode. I was going to ask, I don't know, maybe this happens to every other person. Recently, just because I've been very active online, I register a lot of forms, I apply to a lot of jobs, and I get to accept cookies.
Yeah, we all do
Get
actually.
to count the number of cookies I've accepted. They're not put in cookie store.
In some cases, you want to reject, but there's no option for that, so you have to
So
select
what
and
is
see.
cookies? What is the advantage of? I mean, the repercussions
Of not accepting?
of accepting and not accepting cookies.
Okay, so coincidentally, there's a team in my research center that does research on online privacy and all of that stuff.
Okay.
And I've been their lab rat a couple of times. So they talk about, so when you go into a website, so most of those cookies are actually based. They are things that the people who develop those use for maybe advertising. Basically, they are trying to monitor your online activities to determine what kind of things you do online to be able to suggest some form of thing to you. However, I think by law now, it has been mandated for almost every new website to have cookies that you can disable. They might tell you, there are some essential ones that you cannot disable. Okay. I think it would take it would be worth the extra couple of seconds to look at what you can disable. With me now, maybe because of the kind of exposure I've now learned from those my colleagues, I take the extra couple of seconds or a minute or whatever it is to look at. If there's an option to reject all, I just reject all.
Exactly.
Just
Do they pose any threats?
They are mostly privacy threats, like I've just mentioned.
All right.
Yeah, because those allow the people that own those systems to understand your online behavior.
Okay.
And with your online behavior understood,
Kind of person
Recommend,
right? So as much as possible, I like I said before, we all give away our data one way or another, but I mean, where it can be limited, I'd rather
limit it as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I would just like to ask randomly how individuals can keep up with the rapid pace of change in data science and AI. and ensure that they remain relevant and employable?
Learn.
Learn.
On a serious note,
Connect is it?
in addendum to what she asked, like in your bio, it's obvious how much of things you learned, right? And to us as a student too, we get to, find ourselves in the web of having several things to learn. Talk about cloud computing, talk about database management, talk about statistics and what have you, data visualization, AI applications and all. Like right now on our coursework, we have like nothing less than 20 different areas of different things to actually learn. So you get to ask yourself, where is the relevance of all these things? And do I need to know everything? Why not just create a niche for myself and focus on that niche? Or rather, do I really need to learn everything just like you, master of all?
You actually do not need
Jack
to
of all,
learn
master of
everything.
all.
You do not need to learn everything. I think it maybe starts with you determining how you want to structure your career. And then when you've determined how you want to structure your career, you can
Just focus.
streamline your learning towards that line. And of course, we cannot overemphasize the importance of joining communities that would make sense to the kind of development you want in your life as well, in your career as well. So possibly join communities, learn streamlined learning basically.
Yeah.
But with joining communities and streamlined learning, you might find out that you get overwhelmed, you get information overload sometimes. It's not uncommon to get information overload when you just go online and try to learn something. You get into a rabbit hole of some level of things and then you keep going down and all. But it's important to not lose focus on what you want to achieve. I mean, what you want to achieve might be something. How you should achieve it should not be a constant, right?
But Tolulope, this another scary thing is for us and for a lot of our listeners, there's this fear of, I've not gotten my first job and I don't know where to focus on. Like right now, I would apply to every application that has to do with data science. I wish I knew that there are different niche to actually focus on.
Well, that's at some point there has to be a start. So I understand that. Maybe having knowledge about a lot of things would help to start.
Okay.
Not necessarily to expert level, but at least to a level comfortable, a level that you're comfortable enough to work in a certain space is good.
All right.
When you've gotten into that space and you've determined this is how you want to go, then you can streamline. Yeah. So there's always the starting point, obviously. So that, and then you can build on that for to optimize for whatever it is that you actually want to achieve.
Thanks so much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
All right, Tolulope, thank you very much. So what advice would you give someone just starting out in the field of data science and AI? And for organizations that are considering adopting data science and AI strategies, what pitfalls should they be aware of? Because the digital advisor program that the school has, I was a data analyst for a company, like a small company. And that was the first time the guy was having a data analyst actually. So he did not even know the importance. It was just like, he's just trying it out to see what he can do to his business because he does not see the importance of paying for a data analyst. So what advice do you give organizations that are just like considering adopting data science and AI in general? Yeah. And for people that are starting the
So
field,
that's startups basically who do not have an idea of
I'm asking two questions actually
I
for
understand.
people that are just like us that are just going into the field,
Newbies.
and for organizations that are thinking of adopting data science.
So I think for someone who wants to go into data science, first off, you need to understand what data science is and what it isn't. Because I do some data visualization, therefore I'm a data scientist. It's not true. You first of all need to understand what data science is and what it isn't, right? And then learn the things. I mean, I feel like there are already maybe information and resources online for you to get started on a data science journey, and you guys are doing like a master's in data, so
Exactly, yeah.
it is expected that you would definitely have some prerequisite knowledge about data science and
Well,
Most of us don't. I come from an agricultural economics background, so it's like, yeah.
yes, it doesn't stop you from learning or from getting into the field, right?
No.
Yeah, so the first thing you will need to do is to understand what data science is,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
that's the
Learn.
whole essence of this, actually, to make our audience
Know
or
that,
listeners aware
their background
that,
is
yeah,
not-
they need to have
Learn
some form of
the basic rudimentary things you need to learn to get started with data science. I think we
Okay.
talked about a few of them the other time.
Yeah.
Understand some of those things, and one very good thing that people don't try to talk about a lot is do personal practice.
okay
Where possible,
projects, right?
take on personal projects and build
Okay.
a portfolio for yourself.
Okay.
Right. For
When you
GitHub.
have that,
Portfolio.
For
when
GitHub.
you have
GitHub
that,
and stuff.
and you apply for a job, for instance, and you say, okay, check out what I've done. Even if they don't end up giving you such a job, it gives you the impression that at least some people are noticing what I can do. Eventually, someone is going to say, okay, yeah, I think this is good enough for me. You can
Can
do this.
start with,
now.
yes.
So, practice projects. That's the way to go, basically, for someone who's starting out.
Okay.
Then, when you get into some of those spaces, you can then start to streamline. Oh, I don't want to do this part of this. I don't want to do this part of that. This is how I want to I want to make sure my career goes. And,
Okay.
yeah. So, but it's important for you to lay down that rudimentary part for yourself, so that you can then build upon it when you get into the actual jobs that you're taking on.
Taking on, okay.
And for companies, well, like I mentioned earlier, I do not think that going forward, any company would be able to totally avoid using data in some sense.
Very true.
So the earlier they get on board, the better for them.
Exactly.
I think we've gotten to the
data-driven.
point of innovate or die.
That's it.
Very true.
You
To stay
have
relevant.
to have to innovate. You have to stay relevant, or you
have
make
to
way for
keep
people.
upscaling.
Good. Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
thank you, Tolulope.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So as we conclude this episode, we'd like to hear your thoughts on the recent layoffs in the tech industry. You know, we are the insight pod and all, so we want to know your insights, your perspective on this development. What do you think they will have on the tech industry moving forward? Because we believe that there are some misgivings. Like, what happened? We thought that tech was the way to go, and we didn't need to be worried about job security.
and
You
then,
know?
yeah.
But we
And we're actually calling more people to come.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you need to assuage their
So
fears.
many-
Like, yeah, we need to.
Job security is a myth.
Is it?
I do not think that there's anywhere where job security is 100% guaranteed.
okay.
So, putting that in mind, you have to be able to watch out for yourself. But with respect to the recent layoffs, those layoffs, in my opinion, would suggest the change in direction of some of these companies. And what happens when a company changes direction is the fact that some people, however it's not fair.
Yeah.
It
Right?
isn't.
But
Yes.
however you choose to look at it, some people become redundant because
Redundant.
what they are doing for the company is not important
not,
to
it's
the
not.
business direction anymore. And of course,
So that's
That would-
that's why you need to keep upscaling,
so
basically.
you have to understand that, okay, yeah, at this point in time, this is and also maybe one other thing we also need to consider I'm not even talking about tech now. It's just, as people generally, we need to understand the times. We need to understand what's going on around us, so that you don't just live in your bubble and say, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
understand what's going on, understand the times, and be able to make informed decision based on the current leanings of
Developments,
what's going
What's
on in the
going on.
environment. It's the politics of the world, the economies of
Exactly.
the world, and all of that. Those are important. They don't seem like, oh, you are a tech guy, but policies, government policies all over the world determine a lot of things. If a country comes up tomorrow and says, oh, we don't want to do some certain things again, therefore we don't need a certain type of system.
Service, yeah.
Someone who's already in that space loses everything because and it's not just easy to up and go into another country. You might say, oh yeah, I'm trying to build a global company and all that, but all of that will still be determined on the leanings of world economies, right? How they're looking what is going on in those spaces in the world, and so
Okay.
we have to understand the times and make informed decisions based on those as well. So
Okay.
yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you so much.
Thank
So,
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Tolulope, for such
Thank
an
you.
awesome
Thank you.
session.
Thank you.
I learned so much. I learned about collaboration, having some basic skills. When you want to start this, when you want to maybe transition into AI and data science, you need to know a bit of mathematics, statistics.
Coding, as you
Shai
said.
talked about coding and having some basic logic and domain
Knowledge as well.
Knowledge.
So, and
Yeah,
taking into cognizance the importance of data management, data security, and talking about how much of importance data science is, how companies can take advantage of the numerous opportunity that lies in data science to better their decision.
Yeah.
And talking about the adoption and how much of involvement that is coming into data science
Yeah.
from the place of automation to having some digital skills and be able to put yourself in that position that you'll be able to be relevant in the coming years, as much of development that is bound to happen in the world of AI and data science. So thanks so much. We really
Thank
learned
you
a
so
lot.
much.
Thank you.
Tolulope.
Yeah, so I was, with this episode, I was able to learn that I have to put some kind of bit of importance to learning the domain. So I guess if I see jobs that has healthcare, I just apply. I don't even care. So I guess doing that, when you want to apply to a certain job that is in a particular domain, you make your research and try to talk about the domain in your maybe a cover letter and stuff like that.
That brings me to the importance of tailoring your
CV and
your
cover
CV,
letters.
at the same time your project. Take for example, you applying to an NHS job, so it should have been very good if you have some let's say
Just
some
on
disciplinary
health data.
health data. So
Yeah.
that brings a lot of relevance, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you
Really,
very
really
much.
so
Thank you.
glad for your